In the fall of 2008, America was hit with an economic crisis and has been called the Great Recession. Others have called it the next Great Depression. I ran across this book by author Vox Day, The Return of the Great Depression, and it got me thinking, how did the greatest generation perceive their Great Depression? Did they feel like everything changed? From what I've witnessed, nothing looks different, but it certainly feels different. From there, I decided to ask some friends of mine, born in the same generation as me, do they feel this depression? I asked of my selection of Generation Xers 3 questions.
I know that my great-grandmother was a small child when it happened. She doesn't remember a lot about it, but I know from stories, and this is most of what I know about the Great Depression, is linked back to what I've been told by family members and older people, just because I didn't learn anything in school. But anyhow, it was a huge struggle, and people who lived through that era saved a lot. They didn't spend any money because they didn't have it. They grew their own food. They were used to eating crackers and water. They had to scrape by, literally. There was no work, and people would just go around doing odd jobs just to keep their families afloat. And a lot of families went without.
I've done some reading and study on it in school and since school, and I've talked to my grandmother about it. She lived through it.
The Great Depression largely was in relation to the Black Tuesday stock market crash of 1929, but there were several other contributing factors that were going on way before then. Oil and inflation and deflation. And
sad.
I honestly don't know much about the Great Depression at this point. I was taught about it in school, I know, and probably had to take some tests and write some essays on it. But what I do know now is if you go looking for information on the Great Depression, the great majority of it is theories now based on a particular author's point of view. As time goes on and you have fewer primary sources to rely on, and you get just books from people with theories, it becomes harder sometimes to get at the heart of what really happened.
It almost seems like things are worse right now with the economy, in my opinion. I mean, with prices of everything are going up. I have to work 2 jobs in retail just to pay the very few bills that I do have. Yes.
I want to say depression in the sense of 1929. I think we're in a recession, and I think it's lasting longer than what we expected.
I believe we are in the beginning of a greater depression than the Great Depression, and I have seen the direct effects on my businesses as my clients are having a difficult time with their cash flow, and thus having a difficult time investing more in the services that I've provided for them.
Of course, I'm not getting bailed out. I have to scrape and claw, and I have to try and convince people against what they're feeling and seeing and thinking, which has merit, that you need what I do. And that's hard enough in a good economy. No small business person will ever tell you that it's easy.
I believe it is. And with the current policies of the Federal Reserve and the Obama administration, it's going to turn into a prolonged depression like the Great Depression, because they are doing exactly the same things that FDR did that prolonged the Great Depression. And the only thing that got us out of the Great Depression, we are told, the last time, was World War II.
Absolutely.
I don't think it could ever be the Great Depression because now we have a lot more resources and a lot more ways to get back to normal. I just think that everybody's so twisted and greedy and fucked up that who knows how long it'll take to get back there. But I think that the actual Great Depression, they were a lot more limited on what they had, and they really had to strive to get through it.
To experience another Great Depression like the Great Depression, we would need to have a lot less government involvement. Banks would have to fail. Businesses would have to fail. People would have to start scrambling for their money. And people aren't doing that right now. And the government is probably heading off some of the more sensational things like runs on banks and stockbrokers jumping off of buildings.
Yes and no. Yes, if we don't take the necessary steps to fix our economy, then we could see long time, recession and maybe eventually a depression. But no, I don't think that. But no,